Hi there, my name is Steve Wright. I'm webmaster of Wakefield Camera Club. This short video is to help you in resizing your image to make sure it's correct for entering the various competitions that we run. The maximum size for any image is 1600 pixels by 1200 pixels as in the diagram above. These are the absolute maximum sizes that you can have. In the diagrams above you can see that we have a black line around the 1600 by 1200 dimensions, and on the left we've got a landscape image that fits into the dimensions, and on the right a portrait image that fits into the dimensions. Note the portrait is 1200 high, not 1600. 1200 is the maximum, so obviously it will be narrower than that at the bottom. A square image would still have to fit into those dimensions of 1600 by 1200. So how do we go about achieving that when the image that you may have on your computer could be any size but is likely to be larger than those two dimensions? Well, we're now going to go over how to do it. Okay, it's going to be a very simple operation that we're going to do, but just to be on the safe side, before you start doing it, the first thing to do is to make sure that you've saved your existing image at full resolution, and then you can always go back to it if something goes wrong, there's a power cut or anything else happens. Just to be on the safe side, save it first. Here we are in Photoshop CC. I've got one image up on screen that I've been working with, and it's all ready to enter into the competition. However, I already know that I've not reduced it in size, so the chances are it's going to be too big to enter. The dimensions will be wrong. So how do I go about changing it? Well, pretty easily. If you have your image on screen in Photoshop CC, you go up to the top left and you've got the menu bar at the top here. Top left, the third in from the left is image. If you click on image there, the drop down menu appears, and if you go down you can see that it gets to image size. Surprise, surprise, this is what we use to actually do the job. So if we just click on image size, up comes a new dialog box, the image size dialog box. So you can see here that the width is 2752 by 1941. Certainly much bigger than the 1600 by 1200. Now Photoshop will reduce this for you quite easily. You can see to the left you have what looks to be a chain. It's a link that links the width and the height. That means that when you change one, it will change the other in proportion. So if I change the width, it will change the height in proportion, keeping your image the right sort of proportion. So if we look at this image now, if I clicked on that, can you see there are no lines? When there are no lines there, they aren't linked at all. So if you change one, it doesn't change the other, and proportions of your image will change, and that's not what you want. So if it's like that at all, just click on it until you see those lines there. Now go to the width. This is a landscape image, so the width is the important one, so we will reduce that by just over typing if you like, 1600. You'll see immediately the height has changed to 1128. In that case it is going to fit into the 1600 by 1200. The height's a little bit less. It doesn't matter how much less it actually is, really. It fits into the 1600 by 1200. Obviously the nearer that you have it, then the greater the resolution for the image. You can see that underneath here we've ticked resample it, so it's going to process it as it reduces it, and in my case here I've ticked sharper reduction. There are other ones there, some for enlargement, some for reductions. Well, I'm going for the bicubic sharper reduction. And all you have to do then is click OK. And there you can see it. It's reduced in size. Believe it or not, that's it. That's as much as you need to do. But just to go back and do it again, just to reinforce it, I'll undo that bit and I'll go up to here, top left again, image, image size, 1600. It will reduce the height. If the height in this case is still greater than 1200, then over tap the height with 1200. Obviously if you've got a square image, you might with this end up at 1600 by 1600, which you don't want. So if the height is still above 1200, change the height. With the link it will change the width so you keep it in proportion. And just click on OK. And there you can see it's reduced it. All we have to do now is save it. So back up to the top left, to the menu bar, File, Save As, because we don't want to overwrite the previous one, we want to keep that full resolution image. Save As, and what I normally do, everybody has their own way of doing this, just for my memory, for ease of working, I amend the title to have SML at the end for small. So this is now called Port Lesson Rockpool Small, SML down there. And I will change down here this to JPEG, because the images that we submit have got to be JPEG images. So we can click on Save now, and you have image quality 12, the maximum, which is what you want. It's a large file, that's okay. We want the best image that we can within those dimensions. Click on OK, it's saved. And that is it. It's as simple as that. Now the eagle-eyed amongst you might notice that up here when I looked at image, this top left, and we clicked on image, when I went down to image size, it also shows by the side of it Alt-Control-I. If you're a keyboard person and you want to actually use the keyboard rather than the mouse, then it's quite simply hold the Alt key down, hold the Control key down and press I, and you can see it's exactly the same. So you can either use the menus or Alt-Control-I or Control-Alt-I, whichever way you want to say it. I've already reduced it, you can see it's the right size, so that's it. So for a landscape image, that is all that you need to do. Here we have a portrait orientated image as an example, and let's see how we change the size of this. It's exactly the same, just one little thing to watch out for. So if you remember from the landscape image, up to the top left, remember we should have saved it first of all, up to the top left, get to image, click on image, image size, and now you can see here the height is greater than the width. Height's greater than the width. I want the height to be no more than 1200, so I'm going to delete that and put in 1200, and you can see here now the width has gone down to 759. That's fine. Don't care in a sense what the actual width is, as long as it's in proportion. You can see we had the lines here, so everything is still in proportion. 759 by 1200. 1200 high is the maximum. And that's it. We've done it. Again, I've chosen the sharper reduction. Click on OK. It goes down. File. Save as. And using my convention, just add in SML, JPEG, save it. There you are, it's quality 12, maximum, large file, OK. It's saved. Now how simple was that? Dead easy. Absolutely dead easy. So that is all you have to do. Again, just to reiterate something from the portrait, Control-Alt-I will bring up the same without having to use the mouse. Depends whether you like using the keyboard or not. As you can see, 1200 by 759. 1200 high, that's it, we're okay. Finally, I've got a roughly square image here, So for those that are left in any doubt, we can just clear up the square image. It's Castle Howard ceiling. By now you should be familiar with what's going to happen. Up to the top left, move along and click on image. Come down to image size, and you can see we've got 3957 by 3430. So just as a matter of interest, let's see what happens when I change the width to 1600. You can see that the height is 1387. It fits 1600 wide, but it's still greater than 1200 high. So we've got to reduce the height. If we're going to fit it into 1600 by 1200, we've got to reduce the height. So I will overwrite that 1387 by 1200. And you can play about like this as much as you like to actually get it right. So 1200 high by 1384 wide. That's it. It fits into the 1600 by 1200. We're okay. It doesn't have to be any particular size as long as it fits in. And by altering the height there, we've actually got it to fit in to that 1600 by 1200 box. Same thing again. Okay. It reduces it in size. It may look drastic on screen, but it's just the same size as everything else. And then File, Save As, and you can choose your own. I'm just going to add SML for small, and select JPEG, save it, and 4012 maximum. OK. And that's it. Now, I said it was going to be easy. That is what I call easy. We've covered portrait, landscape and square format using Photoshop CC. Hopefully that will help you in reducing it. All you have to do now is to either put those JPEGs onto a memory stick or email them in as attachments, and that is your entry, and that will be perfectly okay. So thanks a lot for watching, and hopefully you will have no problems in entering the competitions with your digital images.